we have to react to Charles Hoskinson's rants. Two of them. One just today, or yesterday, if you're following time, about the unfairness of Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the industry. And the other one a couple of days ago about the situation with Binance. I have a lot of thoughts on both of them, so here we go. Obviously, today he did a really, really angry rant about how regulations are unfair, undefined, and how Bitcoin and Ethereum has gotten a free pass. And he called out the SEC to tell him, explain it to him why Bitcoin and Ethereum are different from Cardano, XRP, and the rest of the group. And of course, I don't think the SEC is actually going to answer that because they really can't. Now, Charles is right about some things, wrong about some things. Sort of right that he has a college degree, although it is an associate's degree, not a bachelor's degree. I think the reporter did actually call the college, and they said he didn't have a bachelor's degree, but he does have an associate's degree from like some kind of community college, I believe. So he technically has a degree. He's like half right there. But more importantly, on the securities, non-securities issue, the SEC has basically given a free pass to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Gary Gensler, in front of the courts, has actually said he does not think Bitcoin is a security. It's going to be very, very hard for him to change his mind on that once he's made that specific statement. And I do remember on that hearing, Tom Emmer or Patrick McHenry, one of them, did ask him, then why are the rest of these a security? Well, and Gary Gensler really didn't know because he doesn't really have a good reason why those two are not securities, but the rest of everything are securities. And Charles basically hammered him on this point. He's like, well, why are they securities? Why did they get grandfathered in? Why is everything else a security and they're not? Is it because it's decentralized? Bitcoin's not decentralized. Because, if you subpoena 3 out of the 5 like major pools, you can actually attack the Bitcoin network, which is actually correct. And they were under a big, big threat of attack when more than 50% of their hash rate was in China. Now, you might actually be saying it's not the pools that control the hash rate, it's individual miners that can control the hash rate, and they can switch their hash rate at any time. That is true, but it takes time for people to do that. And if you just take over it right away, you can actually screw with the Bitcoin network, although to a limited degree. So it's not necessarily decentralized. Ethereum is kind of the same way. Like the way they did their proof of work, most of the validating, most of the staking is done within a couple of really big pools. So it's not like they're that decentralized. Now, in terms of coin decentralization, Bitcoin and Ethereum are way better than other protocols, mainly because they are the oldest, they are more distributed. But that doesn't mean Vitalik himself, the Ethereum Foundation and Consensus, doesn't have a whole lot of Ethereum. Does not mean the early adopters of Bitcoin don't have a whole lot of Bitcoin. Both those statements are obviously true as well. But if you take protocol decentralization, Bitcoin and Ethereum is no more decentralized than any other network. And I would say Cardano is actually much more decentralized in terms of a consensus basis than those specific coins. So he's right in that they don't really have any basis saying like to exempt those two because they can't really point to a place where those two are different from any of the other coins on any real basis. Like if you run the Howey test, if you do anything else, you really, really can't find a difference. I think Bitcoin, you might be able to find a difference because the foundation itself doesn't really have that much power over Bitcoin. And, so you might not be able to pinpoint like a common commercial cause or interest. If you're looking for expectation of profit, let's be real. Like every coin's users have an expectation of profit. They might say they don't have an expectation of profit, but they're lying. The vast majority of them, if you go into any of those Reddit communities, if you go into any of those like Twitter communities, they're looking for either generational wealth or wealth they can pass on to their kids, or just to buy a lot of crap with wealth that they're going to have because they're going to have like so much money because everything's going to moon. That's true with like every crypto community. So the investors do invest with an expectation of wealth. At least most of them do. Let's be real. You and I are here for money. We're kind of here for the tech, but we're really here for the money. And that's true for every single coin, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, Bitcoin, I will say, probably has more idealists because it was the original coin. And some people do actually want it to be the new form of money. But most people these days are going to invest with a main purpose of getting profit. So that's not really that much of a difference. And I don't think you can actually like separate Bitcoin and Ethereum out from like Cardano, Solana, XRP any of these things. I think they're kind of the same thing. And that's why the SEC in court actually had a really, really hard time of proving why XRP was a security while they give Ethereum a free pass and they give Bitcoin a free pass. They actually did bring that point up, and I think other coins can also use that point in court. I also don't think Charles actually wants to fight a court case because it's very, very expensive. But the thing is, Cardano Foundation does actually have that money, and they can hire some lawyers to fight that case. And I'm pretty sure they would win, just like the XRP case. And he's right that, the SEC is just costing them and taxpayers a lot of money trying to sue all these people. They're going to lose case after case after case. Now, the thing is, ADA and Cardano hasn't gotten the papers served. So the SEC is too busy fighting the Coinbase case right now. And if they lose the Coinbase case, they don't really have jurisdiction to sue something like Cardano, because that already says that all secondary market is not a security. And then they would only be able to sue primary markets. But they can't sue Cardano for primary markets because Cardano's ICO was in Japan. Cardano didn't have any primary market sales in the United States. So they literally have nothing to sue for. But I think he's just pissed that it might actually affect the price of the coins because they mentioned Cardano, Solana, etc. on that sheet. That they said these are securities. Now, if your coin's not on that sheet, it doesn't mean it's safe. The SEC can add your coin on at any time, but I think he's afraid that it might have an effect on the market price. I don't really think it'll have that big of an effect on the market price because you're not really seeing it right now. I mean, Solana's gone up regardless of it. Cardano's going up. So I think it's fine. It might put some doubt in the back of some people's minds, but realistically, it all just comes down to Coinbase winning the against the SEC. If that happens, I think all this kind of goes away. The SEC loses power. They might try to bring a couple more lawsuits, but they would probably get dismissed or the SEC would lose. And the thing is, I want these losses to stick hard on the reputation of Gary Gensler because he is responsible for all this stuff. Yes, Jay Clayton is heavily responsible too for starting it. And all the William Hinman corruption, that actually happened under the last administration. But Gary Gensler is responsible for continuing that, and everyone should know that. He should never sniff this chair of Secretary of Treasury based on his failure as SEC commissioner. So Hutchinson is absolutely right about his rant about trying to separate out Bitcoin and Ethereum from the rest of the coins. I really think they want to separate out Bitcoin and Ethereum because there's heavy industry investment into those coins. A lot of funds want Bitcoin. A lot of big industries have invested into Ethereum, so they don't really want to take it down. But these other coins, they're afraid of what they actually might do. They're afraid that people might actually transact in these coins and actually, go around tax loopholes and all that stuff. So they're trying to ban them for that reason, but they're not actual securities. And there's really no way they can say they're actual securities. So I don't think the SEC has much of a case. They're going to slowly lose, but they're going to drag it out as much as possible. And Charles is right. They actually need to be held responsible. The people that are losing these cases, they should be able to get countersued by the company that they're actually costing money. If the SEC loses a case and they're costing a company $150 million for lawyers, they should have to foot the bill of the $150 million because they are bringing up the similar cases over and over again. And many of them you could actually consider them even slap suits or frivolous lawsuits after a while. And I do think they should actually have to pay the cost of their opponents' defense funds. But that's not how the United States works. The United States, everyone pays for their own lawyers, unlike some other countries. So I think some things in there do need to change. And Charles is actually right about that. Now, the other thing about his rant with Binance and why they actually went after Binance, he's also right about that one. I know a couple people in chat are saying because CZ is a crook and all that stuff. I mean, he's not in the same manner that SBF does. SBF was actually just fraud. He lost all of his customers' money. CZ hasn't actually lost anyone's money. And all the evidence shows that he hasn't lost anyone's money because the reserves are still there. They've actually tried to redeem Binance out a couple of times. When they tried to do that, when CZ tried to do that with SBF and withdrawal, the exchange fell apart almost immediately. But they've tried to redeem Binance out for tens of billions of dollars multiple times, and every time they've had the money to do it. Independent on-chain trackers have actually tracked that Binance does have all their customers' funds in a cold wallet. So I don't actually think they use customer funds. You do realize that they've actually redeemed Binance out 20-30%. And Binance stood strong. If they tried to do that to any bank, that bank would have actually fallen apart. And the thing is independent like third parties with on-chain trackers have actually confirmed that Binance does have 100% or even 101% of their customer funds. So it's not like CZ lost a lot of money. CZ kind of like is going up against the grain of how things work, and that's why they're targeting him so hard, maybe even harder than SBF, except they can't really get him on losing like, $80 billion or something, because he didn't lose that money. The thing is, like, CZ invented, like Charles said, CZ invented all these protocols, all these ways for like certain countries like, Hamas, or, well, Hamas isn't a country, but groups like Hamas or countries like Iran to actually trade freely and without restrictions. And the US doesn't want that. Basically, has invented things that might actually disrupt the United States' geopolitical order and the geopolitical order of the world. And that's why there's so much after him. Also, I do believe a lot of it is them wanting to actually clear the way for US companies like Coinbase, or maybe even like BlackRock, to basically dominate the Bitcoin and Ethereum space. And with Binance being so dominant, they can't actually do that. So they have to find some way to find Binance and get them out of the United States. I think those are like major, major incentives to actually go after Binance so hard. Some of you are concerned that they're actually going after Tether, but Tether was smart. They actually ended up buying a lot of US Treasury bonds. So I don't really know if the government wants to go after them. Binance didn't have those Treasury bonds, so they had more of a free hand to go after Binance. And also, like, Binance refusing to turn off Russian customers once the war started really pissed him off. I think had he complied with that, I think they would have gone easier on Binance. Remember, it's not the SEC that got the settlement against Binance. It's the DOJ. So in the DOJ, in all the things they actually accused Binance of, they didn't actually accuse them of selling illegal securities. So it doesn't actually help the SEC's case against Binance. Because eventually, like, Binance ended up paying the DOJ, the CFTC, the OSS, and like one of the other agencies, but they did not pay the SEC. So, like, I don't think the SEC is actually going to win their case against Binance, because I think they're going to lose against Coinbase, which means they will lose against Binance and Kraken. But basically, like, the US needed to sue Binance, not because he committed like fraud or anything, but because they needed to remove an obstacle for their guys to actually come in. And also, they wanted to kind of like send a signal to the rest of the market that you have to play by our rules or it's the highway. And that you better not work with these entities or we're going to come after you. And I think they were very, very successful in doing that. Whether that's right or not, I'll let you decide. I'm generally not that great in favor of it. But like, it's like the Western world order that Binance is challenging, and they can't have anyone challenge that world order. Although there's not any like written rules about like that you can't challenge that thing, but like there's like unspoken rules that you shouldn't mess with it. And if you mess with it, they're gonna come after you. And I think if you're gonna see any other exchanges that allow these like protocols, they're going to come after them as well. You can see they're going after Tornado Cash as well, because like and like the guy that made Tornado Cash or whatever, or like Silk Road, that kind of stuff, that also goes against the established order. And so those guys got like really heavy time in jail, way more than I think their crimes would actually deserve. But like the Silk Road guy was actually a criminal, because I think like this was some like child sex trafficking or something there. So he was definitely a criminal, but he definitely got sentenced to 150 years because he was challenging the established order. So they're trying to like send shots across the brow saying, hey, don't challenge us. Because like there are like, alliances like BRICS and others that are like starting to come up and challenge the established order, and they don't want businesses helping those kind of things. So the Western order is what's actually under threat in the CZ Binance case. And that's, I think, why they went after him so hard. Because if it's really just like money laundering and all this stuff, like the big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, like every once in a while, they'll find these banks doing the same thing. And it's like maybe $50-60 million fine and a slap on the wrist, no jail time. Whereas with Binance, they find them a lot more heavily because they're trying to destroy Binance. But they weren't able to destroy Binance. They just were able to kick them out of the United States. So I think I think Charles has it right on both these points. He articulated it in a different way, and I think he articulated it in a much more emotional way, especially the first point, but he's not actually wrong on these things. Now, about the college degree and all his other stuff, like, he does lie about all that, a lot about the other stuff, but these two specific points, I do actually agree with him on. So, like, I'm going to look for Binance, the new Binance, to really just work closely with the Treasury for products and listing new coins. Same thing with all these US-based tokens. And I don't know if that's going to cause the US to fall behind in this industry or not. But I think the US industry is going to be closely watched by the government, and they're going to make sure that no one goes against their economic or geopolitical agenda, after this like brief thing. Because I think they're going to try to rein everything in. Now they're going to have a horrible time with DEXs because I don't think you'll be able to ban VPNs in the United States. And the thing is, like, people are going to go towards VPNs, and then maybe they'll have to actually loosen up. But we'll see actually what happens with all of this, because this is much more of a geopolitical power issue than it is like, oh, these crypto people are actually committing fraud issue things. Because SBF was fraud, CZ was not. It's just that like SBF might have been working with that with like the Western order, and CZ is actually kind of going against it. And of course, that can draw consequences because the Western order is the one that's actually in power. It's the same thing in China if you try to challenge the Communist Party. It's actually way more serious there if you try to challenge the Communist Party. They'll straight up like kill you. Same thing with North Korea and Kim Jong-il. Here, they'll just like throw a couple of shots across the barrel. They'll fine you and they'll try to take your business down or just kick your business outside the United States so you can't do business here. But there, they'll just like straight up like cap you. So that's what I have to say. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.